lockdowns, are foreign investors still keen on setting up shop in the Philippines? For his take on this, we are joined by Chris Nelson, the Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Chris, good morning and nice to see you again.
Yes, good morning, Raine, and nice to see you, and good morning to all your viewers.
Already, there are rumors of an extension of a hard lockdown in Metro Manila. Are British businesses in the Philippines prepared for that? Perhaps in terms of peso or pound, by how much are your members affected with every week of lockdown in this region and other areas?
Look, our members, I think I should say, first of all, we have over 300 members, of which we're both British and non-British. So we have a lot of also companies who are Philippine, because obviously we're developing a very strong network. And like Ned made an estimate, I think they're already estimating 300 billion pesos. Our members, particularly in the hospitality sector, are obviously particularly affected because obviously they're closed. And I think the key here, Raine, is how can we move from this? And obviously vaccinations is the key in terms of accelerating that. I saw also that Secretary Lopez is hoping that we can now move to an MECQ, because obviously that's going to be a great assistance to jobs. And I think the key for our members is also planning for the future, and I'll link that as we go through our discussions, because the key, obviously, and we can discuss that, obviously the examples from the UK, is how can you obviously get the vaccination rate up and therefore open your economy and move forward, obviously bearing in mind, obviously, the consequence of safety protocols in place.
Right. There is one school of thought that the Philippines can control the spread of the Delta variant here without having to implement a hard lockdown. Others believe there is no balance. One must choose between life over livelihood. What is your thought on this?
Yeah, look, I think we're very strong supporters of all the work being done by Goni Gosho, Jerry Concepcion. And as he said, this is a very hard thing to do, but it's better to try and take the enhanced lockdown now in order to try and save the fourth quarter. And I think what needs to be done at this moment, actually, is to run these things in parallel. I think what we need to be doing, and we've seen that, is increasing the vaccination rate. We've seen examples from other countries, and I think the UK is a very good example, where obviously their vaccination of the population is 60% adult and growing, and the Philippines is approximately 10%. So I think the key for this lockdown period is, can we use it effectively, boost those vaccination rates, and obviously increase vaccination supply, which obviously I compliment the work of Secretary Galvez and obviously the support of the UK, because obviously we've given donations. AstraZeneca is obviously one of the leading companies here. So I think that's the way forward. So I think it is, I wouldn't say it's either or, it's actually we should work hand in hand. And the key is how we can move that forward. And as I said, it's vaccination and increasing the total number is the key.
Mm. You did mention the United Kingdom has vaccinated close to 60% of their population. Has it delivered the benefits of reopening the economy that you'd expected?
Yes, I think it has. First of all, obviously, most, if not all, of the restrictions have been lifted as of the 19th of July. You've seen actually confidence, particularly in the hospitality sector, and I'd link it back to my first point, which is obviously particularly affected here with obviously when you have the ECQ, their confidence has risen to 63%. That's obviously a significant figure. And you've seen a very strong performance in the June retail sales performance, partly driven, of course, by the particularity of the Euro 2020 football tournament. But overall, you're seeing consumers going out, you're seeing spending. The FTSE, the stock market, is at an 18-month high. So yes, I think you're seeing that being delivered. And that's an example, I think, not just in the UK, obviously you see parts of it in the US as well, and I think also parts of Europe. So I think it can be done. Yes, obviously we'll be very cognizant of the Delta variant, but I think the UK is seeing the benefits of its very effective vaccination program, and obviously combined with that, all the economic stimulus it gave to the economy during this period.
You're expecting recovery of the Philippines only by 2022. And after assessing Philippine growth, GDP numbers this week, foreign investments as well, plus the vaccination rates, one analyst was saying yesterday that foreign funds and investors will only really consider placing their money heavily in the Philippines if we vaccinate at a rate closer to what Europe and the US are doing. Do you agree with that?
No, I think it's a combination of factors. Let me also clarify one other key point. I think the first is that we said we see it returning to its pre-pandemic rate in 2022. Obviously, the economy is already starting to grow from obviously the depressed levels of 2020. I do think foreign funds, obviously, you see a dip in foreign direct investment, which Banco Central subscribed, obviously, to the increase in the Delta variant and obviously the ECQ, and it dropped to its lowest point, or one of its reduced compared to the previous month. But I think what investors and overall looking for is not just obviously the actions needed today, which is to manage the vaccine, manage the issue with the variant, and also obviously the vaccination program. It's the longer term. And in that, I think it's very important that we further liberalize the economy of the Philippines. And as noted in, as you mentioned in your opening, the President Duterte's opening in his SONA speech referred to the passage of those priority bills, Retail Trade Liberalization Act, Public Service Act, Foreign Investment Act. I think these are critical times. It's very important if we get those passed, because we would highlight that. And I think I'd just like to say here, we still have companies, investors who are very interested in the Philippines. We are constantly promoting that. But I think it's also a key moment now to make those measures pass, and we're hoping to see those pass by October, because that would give a clear signal. And I think the key here is the long term. Yes, a lot of short-term challenges, and we don't want to minimize that. We're working to assist. But I think it's the long-term signal, which is actually very important to foreign investors. So let's pass those priority bills, please.
Right, and we have a new British ambassador to the Philippines and Palau, Laure Beaufils, succeeding Daniel Prue starting August. Have you had a chance to speak with her, perhaps as the ASEAN welcomes the UK as a new dialogue partner, and the Philippines serves as country coordinator for the ASEAN-UK economic relations?
Not yet. I mean, it's a warm welcome to Laure. We'd also like to, at this moment, give a sincere thanks to all the work of the outgoing ambassador, which of course is Danny Bruce, and all his work during the time, obviously, of COVID. I mean, he was instrumental also to assist with getting AstraZeneca. I think Laure will be obviously very successful. I think also on the point you mentioned about the ASEAN dialogue, I believe that's already had a discussion with our current acting trade commissioner, Sam Myers, in Singapore, with obviously a DTI here. And I think, obviously, the UK comes at a very good time. We've seen an increasing growth in UK trade relations with ourselves and the British Embassy and Department of International Trade. The UK sees the Philippines as a very important trading partner, and we're very happy to see those dialogues going on. I mean, as you know, the UK has exited from the EU and therefore can have opportunities, but it looks to grow trading opportunities. It sees ASEAN as a very important area, and it sees the Philippines. And let me just come back to that point. We as the British Chamber oversee the Philippines as a gateway, not just to the market for companies to come here, but also to Southeast Asia. So a warm welcome to Laure. Thanks again to Danny. And I think those discussions will continue to prosper.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then you also have the European-Philippine Business Summit at the end of September. What are the expectations for that from this event?
Well, look, I think the Europeans obviously see this as very important. I'd like to thank our partner. Obviously, it's been organized by the European Chamber and being supported by all the other European chambers, so thanks to them. And obviously, what we'd like to see is how is the roadmap going forward. And again, I just want to make the point, hopefully, by then, we'll see further progress on these priority bills. Again, the Retail Trade Liberalization Act, the Foreign Service Act, the Foreign Investment Act, Public Service Act. And I think what we're looking for is to highlight to European companies and investors and UK companies the opportunities in the Philippines. And just a reminder to you and everybody in the audience, of course, the Philippines is growing at 6% pre-pandemic. We see great opportunities, and let's see that move forward. We obviously want to see us get through this current period, increase our, obviously working with the vaccination rates, improve obviously those opportunities, and at the same time, but above all else, let's send long-term signals to the investors.
Do you see the Philippines still growing at 6% this year?
I think this year will be a significant challenge in all fairness. And I think obviously, even it's been mentioned by Banco Central, obviously people have got to factor in that you've got the lockdown that's gone on today, was put on from the 6th of August until the 20th. That will probably obviously have some impact, moderate. But I think the overall key here is the economy has started to grow. The key point is the longer term. The Philippines has a lot of potential. It's been attractive to UK companies, particularly because of the talented workforce. And the key going forward is how can we move that forward? That's going to be a combination, by the way, of course, of economic stimulus. So we're looking forward to seeing further activity there in terms of Bayad 3. But I think, again, I have to come back to this point and reiterate, it's now to take those long-term points, which are obviously priority bills and are obviously supported by Secretary Dominguez. I'm talking again about those 3 key bills to open up the economy. And I think if they're passed in conjunction also with the CREATE that was put through and the Build program, then yes, I do see the Philippines getting back to 6%.
All right, BCCP's Chris Nelson, always a pleasure to have you, and see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raine, and a good day to you and all your viewers.
And to you, and stay safe. Now, here are some economic numbers or events we're monitoring this Thursday. The Philippine Central Bank will announce its latest policy decision